At the beginning, I wish to welcome you all to this festival and to RAF, or School of Computing, as you like it. I'd like to say that I'm very honored to be here today and to open this wonderful event. And especially I'm honored that this progressive program and innovative program is organized in our institution at RAF. I must say that as someone who comes from computer science background and software engineering, at first I was skeptical what these economic people do at RAF, but very shortly I realized that this program and Branko himself brought some new value to our institution. He provides us with very important connections to the world of finance and economics. As much as RAF was previously recognized and well established in the IT world, this was some new experience for us. And I think very important because every of these connections brings some new opportunities for us, and it's very important. On the other hand, I think putting this program at RAF, besides our programs such as computer science, computer engineering, software engineering, maybe made it more recognized by IT people, and maybe, I hope so, emphasizes its computational aspect, as I can say. So I think that it fits very well at RAF, and it has a really good successful so far. So I will now give a word to Branko, just to emphasize once more that Branko and I had a really and have still a very good cooperation in this last couple of months. He helped me a lot in this new position. With his experience, I am Bojana Dimic-Surla, Dean of the RAF, and I would like to thank him for that. And I noticed that we share some similar views on education, organization, relations to professional world. So with everything that in mind, I hope for a really bright future for RAF and for this program at RAF. So Branko, stage is yours.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Bojana for such a wonderful introduction. It is an honor to me to be a professor at RAF and to do this program. RAF is, in my opinion, probably the best faculty that we currently have in Serbia of any direction, of any field. This is my subjective opinion, of course, but I think it's certainly the faculty with the most potential because we are not conservative, stagnating. We're always trying to do the same things. We are trying to constantly improve and innovate. And this is really important. And obviously, given the world we are living in which everything changes all the time, the ability to change and adjust the programs according to the times is crucial. So I wanted to say, first of all, to put in a background why this is important issue to have computational finance. So first, the traditional companies and the entire industries are rapidly digitalizing. And so even those companies that in the past did not think at all of anything other than Excel are increasingly trying to use more and more computing power to utilize the data that they produce, that others produce, to get competitively ahead. Algorithmic trading is getting more and more important, where machines are basically performing the trading, but of course machines need to be programmed by real humans. Machine learning and artificial intelligence is first started massively in business to be used in finance, and then in all the other areas of the economics. And we know now that it is really one of the very propulsive areas. Fintech and cryptocurrencies and blockchain more generally, and now Web3, are challenging the traditional concept of money and finance, providing new opportunities, raising new challenges. And it is also interesting that even traditional consulting firms, for example, like McKinsey, they are getting about 40% of their revenues at present from machine learning and artificial intelligence work, which when I was there in 95 to 97, it was just something unimaginable, because we only used Excel and nobody knew how to make PowerPoint presentation. We had to use Indians to do that for us. Okay, so behind many of these developments is computational finance. So what is a computational finance? So the way I look at it, it is living in the intersection of these circles, namely computer science, finance, quantitative methods, math, statistics, and so on, and data science and machine learning. So basically, our program is straight in the middle of that, in this intersection of this Venn diagram. So what do we want to achieve? Of course, our goal is to create a world-class master level program in computational finance here at RAF. So when I say world-class, I don't mean that we are okay, we are tolerable, but rather that we are going to hopefully set the pace in Europe at least. It's hard to compete with the US. Carnegie Mellon would be hard to beat, no question. That's probably the #1 program. But in terms of price to quality, I hope we can compete with them for sure. Now, participants of various academic and professional backgrounds get together here. So this is one very important feature. So we accept people from the economics background, from programming, from engineering, from sciences. We accepted the girl who was a major in Albanian, who is one of the excellent students in our program. So, I mean, basically there is no clear cuts, saying, okay, we are going to just accept people of a certain profile. And we want to teach them to collaborate together, to basically solve problems. Those who have more quantitative training, those who have less quantitative training, everybody can learn given the right circumstances, and we provide those circumstances. So by the way, we are going to do all this talking, and finally, when we finish all the presentations, then we will have plenty of question and answers for everybody. So this is my, otherwise we will never finish. Yeah, okay. So the idea is that they should be able to recognize and understand a business problem. That's key. Without that, there is nothing much to talk about. But then they should be able to appropriately select a solution method for that problem and to develop appropriate solution algorithms, and finally to implement those algorithms into Python or R. Can you please mute if you're sitting on Zoom so that we can, okay. So from the basic concepts to the prototype of a concrete solution to a practical problem, that's the key. So of course, if somebody is an economist or an Albanian major, probably within 1 year, she's not going to compete in programming with the people who went to RAF or electrotechnical faculty or Caltech, who are focusing on that for 4 years or whatever. However, what she will be able to do, and she is to develop a lot of knowledge, starting from very simple things and getting to rather advanced stuff in solving real problems in finance using programming. On the other hand, programmers may not be as fully rounded economists as those who studied that for 4 years, or who did it for 20, because there are some experienced professionals who come and join. But certainly they're going to be able to learn a lot as we develop through the program. And this is the first program of its kind in our region. So something about me very briefly. So I have a PhD in physics, so I was not actually far from quantitative stuff, from Brown University, and a PhD in finance afterwards from Berkeley. In the meantime, I worked in McKinsey, so I got this real life experience before my second PhD. Importantly, I created and led the IMQF program at the Faculty of Economics, and many of the people involved in this program have some kind of relationship with this program. It was very successful. We have alumni in 54 countries that I know of. Maybe there is more. In this room, there are some alumni. Among the teachers, there are some alumni. Among the board members, there is an alumni, and so on. In February 2021, I moved to RAF and started mastering computational finance, which I see, and many other people, as the next stage in the evolution of the regional program with a digital revolution in mind. So briefly, it is a 12-month program. It is taught in English. So we start with a rather intensive, and now we are trying to see how to not overkill on the bootcamp. But the bootcamp, the original word bootcamp is when you go to the army and then they drill you like a drill sergeant. And so we do drill people to learn something about programming if they don't know anything, and to refresh some math and probability knowledge. So one of the teachers in that bootcamp is my good friend Martin Zumer, who is the head of research of the Austrian Central Bank, and he teaches probability. He loves probability. So we have actually, one thing about this program is that we have really second to none quality in terms of the teachers who have all this practical experience and are also very academically well trained. So then we have 2 semesters of coursework from February to July and from September to December. And people need to complete 5 required and 2 elective courses. Okay. So another thing is, this is technical. So there is a short cycle and master degree program. So we first created a short cycle program, which is less difficult to do than to accredit the master degree program, but now we did that too. Now both of them exist. Now they are totally identical in terms of the coursework and the cost. So what is different? Well, the short cycle is primarily, you just do the coursework. There is no master thesis, and therefore you don't get the master thesis after you finish. You get the certificate of completion. So to get into the, so basically if you get the master thesis, it is the title Master in Computer Science / Computational Finance. So we specify that we are not just regular computer science master program. And finally, importantly, to get admission into the master degree program, you need to have 4-year, at least, previous undergraduate studies. Now, for companies that want to send their employees, and we will see this is what very often done, this is a nuisance to worry about that, or whether somebody is accredited and so on. So the short cycle doesn't require any of that. So we'll see how you enter there. So there are good reasons for both of these to exist. We have a really different way of teaching. First of all, we emphasize the combining of programming and learning finance, or learning statistics. So this is one specific feature. So for example, all the homeworks are done using some coding and so on. But you need to learn about finance, you need to learn about this math stuff and everything. So for example, when you learn about Ito's lemma, the horrible thing that somebody might mention, we actually teach you how to do it in Python so that you can actually automatize much of the calculations. So whatever can be automatized, we do. Now we use this interactive notebook environments, Google Colab or Jupyter Notebook technology, and R Markdown Studio, if we use R. So as you will see, most of the courses are in Python, some are in R. We said that we have all this teamwork, but basically what do they work on? Well, they work on homeworks, they work on team presentations. We have, in 2 classes, we have trading competitions, which is actually really fun and important to learn practical stuff. Then the lectures are done in a hybrid mode whenever possible. Whenever the lecturers are actually sitting in Belgrade, then we do it in a hybrid mode, in a classroom and in Zoom. Otherwise, they are on Zoom. So at present, we have lecturers that are coming from Chicago, from Zurich, from London, from Madrid, from Prague, and possibly other places. I'm losing track. So it's quite international. And we are meeting up to 3 times per week in evening hours from 6. So here are the coursework. I don't want to go into big details. Importantly, there are 5 of these required courses. You can see what they are. We are going to talk about some of the courses later on in more detail. Let me just mention something about the teacher who is not with us, who is really great. Or actually, there are 2 teachers that I wanted to specifically mention. So one is the person who teaches statistics and financial data. He is one of the best econometricians in this part of the world, Milan Nedeljković, and he is also a practitioner because he has his own company that implements this throughout Europe. He's really something else. And he's basically teaching in R. So R is in part the result of Vlada Alexis telling us that R is useful, and Milan telling me that he doesn't want to teach in Python. So that's otherwise we would have Python. Okay, and then we have machine learning and fixed income, which is taught by Nikola Vasiljevic. Nikola is our alumni from IMQF. He has a PhD from Zurich, He's basically right now also working as a head of the quantitative strategies, investment strategies in Barclays private banking. So he basically advises people how to invest their money, and he uses machine learning, and he works a lot on fixed income. So therefore, and this is generally how we do it. We try to put together people who really have a lot of practical experience directly. And so one other course that I'm going to mention that nobody is presenting it otherwise here is investments. This is a new course that we created to the benefit of people who want to learn about valuation, about things that are not necessarily quantitative. Actually, we use Excel there. It is for the people who are working in companies, in financial sectors of companies. It is for the benefit of people interested in venture capital, in mergers and acquisitions. And we again bring in a bunch of practitioners with a lot of experience and who are also cool to listen to. Some from the region, some from actually the US and Mexico. It's going to be great. And then we have another very interesting course, and you're going to hear about it, at least some part of it today with Malisha. So the first part is the algorithmic trading. This was created specifically based on some requests from the students of this generation. So basically, I hear them talk about how much they want to learn to do more, to learn about algo trading or about trading cryptocurrencies. And I asked a colleague here, Mladen Stanojevic, who has been doing algo trading for about 20 years, and he's going to teach that part. And then, of course, while we are at it, I asked my colleague from MVP, Malisha, to create that MVP creates a course in blockchain and decentralized finance, and he will say something about that. So all the other things we can skip for now. So very briefly, because I'm already taking too much time, these are some of the key skills that people develop. So they're going to learn about markets and instruments, about investments processes, about sustainability and ESG. This is something, again, that our corporate partners recommended that we think about, and so we embedded it in more than one course. Asset allocation techniques, trading and algorithmic trading, valuation and hedging, valuation also of complex derivative securities and of companies, and risk management. So as you can see, it's pretty all-encompassing finance curriculum by itself, but then in addition, they need to learn some financial computation, simulations, and work with real data. They need to learn enough math, statistics, and machine learning to be efficient when they need to do in practice. So they are not become fields medalists, but they are going to be able to use these models and figure out how to, what is that minimum set of skills that everybody needs to have. And finally, they need to, if they want to, they can get a hands-on experience with blockchain development, which is really, and fintech, which is really great. Okay, what they can do, well, they can work in all kinds of places. And a proof of that, so you can just read, I don't want to read through everything, but basically you can go to, there is a lot of interest in people getting hired, as people who are currently here can confirm. Some of them got stipends, some of them got hired after they started the program. In our previous generation, everybody got hired after the first 4 months. So that's a fact. So now we have also a collaboration with a really nice institution, which is a little bit not always fully organized, but fantastic people. One of the best research and education centers in Italy for the finance and insurance, created by a consortium of Italian and Swiss financial institutions. So they basically proposed to us, because these institutions are interested very much in this connection between programming and finance, and they claim that it's very hard to find such people in Italy and in Switzerland even, that basically they are wanted to propose to us that they take up all courses, those who are interested with their institution, they give them some certificate, and then they can also recommend to their employees to talk to people, you know, who are basically interested in that. So basically, this would give people who are interested in that direct contact to the Italian and European financial and fintech institutions, plus, of course, learn from really, really smart people. They're excellent. Okay. So what we want to do in relation with the industry is we want to build a nexus between academia and the industry. And this is not an easy thing because, of course, it is much easier for me to talk about formulas than necessarily to know everything that people in the industry know is needed. So that's why we have among teachers also people directly from the industry, so that we can already know that what is really needed. And you will hear about that from our other presenters. But so what companies typically will do, they can offer internships, so they can hire, and they do, our students. Another very important thing for us is to provide, companies provide stipends for some participant or participants that they select. And this way they secure our talent, they support us. This is an important way to support us. And also they signal that they're interested in the top quality candidates. So this has a kind of advertising effect too on the job market. And then, of course, also for the people who are our partners, we do whatever we can to help in other ways. So then they can sponsor their own employees to complete the whole program or particular combination of courses. And this is the short program because otherwise it's too complicated to worry about the master thesis. So people can do master thesis. If they finish the short program, they can do the master thesis and then get the master thesis, provided they have 4-year degree previously obtained. They can also contribute to the visiting lecturers, and I'll tell you about one example of that, very important. And another, they can also create part of a particular course, and we did do that with MVP. And finally, they can receive in-house training or consulting and so on. And they can be probably all kinds of other ways in which we can partner up, you know, connecting various firms together through this, figuring out the best way to like utilize people from our diaspora and foreigners who are interested in collaborating, all kinds of things that somehow naturally come when you build a good program. Okay, so I don't want to read through the whole thing. I just want to say we had 15 students in the first year. Now we have 40 full-time plus 17 people coming from companies to individual courses. Initially, of those 15, 12 are continuing now to writing master thesis. Initially, we had 3 important partners, great sponsors, Banca Intesa, Raiffeisen Bank, and UniCredit Bank, who supported us. And they continue to support us. And then MVP, very importantly, supported us with 2 stipends and tenderly with 1. And MVP, in addition, is teaching a 7-week module on blockchain and decentralized finance. Very important partnership also is with Delta Holding, who delegated 4 wonderful people. And one of them is going to talk to you today, as well as the guy who came from Celsius, another wonderful guy. And Banca Intesa also said a great person, everybody basically. And then we have another very good partnership, which we are really very excited about because we want to internationalize as much as possible right away with Ernst & Young in Prague from the risk advisory group. This is one of the leading risk advisory groups in Europe. And as such, they are consulting not only all the banks in the broader region, and Eastern in Central Europe, but also Goldman and many others. And so these are great people. And so they are sending us 2 guest lecturers. And they also send us 4 people to individual courses. Nasha Ike Banka, formerly known as Verbank, delegated 9 people in these tumultuous times, which I really appreciate. And then one very different and special project, which was done with a broader RAF and our involvement, is creating of the Banca Intesa Data Academy, which is about 1.5 years project. And this is a serious project with a lot of stuff, with a lot of people involved, hundreds of people getting trained. And there are others, but I couldn't mention their names because they didn't want to be mentioned. Okay. So how to apply for the program? We already accept applications for 2022-23, and we have several. To apply either to the short cycle or the master program, you need to send us your CV in English. Now, if you apply for the master program, which you can if you have a 4-year college degree or more, can be a PhD in computer science or finance or whatever, and you can decide to do it. I had people with a PhD in physics applying to the IMQR program in the past. So PhD in physical chemistry, for example, last year in this program. But you need to have at least 4 years. You don't need to have a PhD. Okay, basically, if this degree is from a foreign country, you need to have it nostrified. Now, if you apply for the short program and wait until it gets nostrified, you can then do the thesis. So basically, short program is really a wonderful regulatory arbitrage opportunity that we use to the max. Then there will be an interview, and then the decisions are made on a rolling basis. Therefore, and while the formal deadline is October 1st, it is best to apply as early as possible, especially for the stipends. We are going to create groups of people, 5-6 people that we send shortlist to a company that gives stipends. And then basically once they decide on a stipend, that's it. Why do we need to do it early? Because there are companies that are extremely fast. Shelley just mentioned one company that is extremely fast, MVP, very fast in making their decisions. There are other companies which I'm not going to mention, but they are much slower. Some are more slower than others, but it takes much more time. Usually those would be bigger companies. They have a larger, more serious bureaucratic process. But in the end, all of these things are done and we need to do it early. So, okay. So you can get here more information, and that's for what I wanted to say for now. So now I would like to actually invite, so let me look at my program. I'm sorry, my memory is horrible. So if I get to pass some standard exams, by the way, we are not focusing on memorization in our program at all. So it is all about creative thinking and solving problems. Okay, so our next thing is, first mini panel is about finance core education. So Vladislav, are you around?
Thank you very much. First, let me say that it's my deepest pleasure to be part of this lecturing staff at this forward-looking master's program. And I am amazed that we were able to gather today in a unique opportunity to hang out with our current students, with our potential future students. My name is Vladislav Radak. For the last almost 10 years, I work in finance industry, mostly here in Germany, Europe, Frankfurt, Düsseldorf, etc. I worked for a couple of consultancies previously, and in the meantime, I was also teaching at Technical University of Dortmund, finance and financial mathematics for 5 years. Right now, I'm teaching a couple of interesting courses. Quantitative investments and computation is something that you mentioned previously. We have many interesting topics that we try to cover with students, but also later we're going to talk about financial risk, more specifically market risk, and that is something that was also part of my PhD thesis and something that I'm really passionate about.
So Vladislav, can you just tell us very briefly what do you think is most important thing related to those two courses that you are teaching, from your point of view?
Yes, really good question. Actually, I think the most important part is actually to connect very hard-working science that was developed over the last century, especially that is speeding up in last 10 to 20 years, with something that we can witness on our everyday basis. A lot of people who are not necessarily into financial mathematics, quantitative finance, computing and stuff, but who are at some part of financial markets, they don't necessarily believe in our really complicated formulas. They believe they can just wing it, they can just ballpark it, etc. But what we're teaching our students is that there is a significant scientific sense between even the most tumultuous times that we're living right now, and some really interesting theory that was maybe written centuries ago. And we try to combine not only cutting edge science, but findings from physics from like 20th century, interesting programming in Python, simulations, backtesting, etc., to try to understand the really complex world that we're currently living in.
Okay, so I would like to ask Miodrag to tell us a little bit about himself. And well, he's somebody who comes with tremendous experience from Wall Street City, Hong Kong, and so on. You can come closer if you want.
We can change.
Yes. And basically tell us a little bit about you, and then tell us a little bit about the stuff that you're teaching in the program, because for me, it is a great honor to have Miodrag, the man with encyclopedic knowledge of finance, to be part of our program.
All right. Thank you very much on this nice intro you gave. I come from physics background as well, did PhD in physics in New York in the 80s. And after about 5 years in physics, I was like, what is this thing about money and derivatives? You know, like, well, there is something on Wall Street. They use mathematics. What kind of mathematics? Looked totally the same as with, used in physics, heat equations and all these kind of things. And I entered into a field thinking I'm going to be there for a brief year or two. And then 25 years later, you know, I kind of acquired some knowledge. And when Branko approached me with an idea to basically work on this program, it made sense. I basically, just to mention, I worked in a classical Wall Street setup. I worked for all these big banks, JP Morgan, Deutsche, traded even, was head of equity derivatives research. And so this modeling and risk was something that I did quite a bit. And then I applied some of that in front office positions as the leading convertible bond desk in Hong Kong for JP Morgan, and worked at hedge funds as a portfolio manager, etc. So now, to bring some of that experience to this program, which is really set up well, it's a unique opportunity to enter a program like this, because it's very hard to compose something like this. Either you have academicians, or you have money from the people from the industry that were chasing money, made a lot of money, have experience, but don't have time for academia. So in order to combine both of those, it takes quite a bit of skill and a bit of luck at everything, right? And I think Branko managed to do that in the last couple of years, to set up a program that let's not be modest. It's difficult to achieve that, and he managed this. And now we are at the point where it needs to be sustained and expanded. And I think the response to the program for everybody that is in, from sponsors, from people that really want to acquire knowledge in this way, is overwhelmingly positive. That's the key, right? Anyway, so mixing rigor of academia and experience in the field acquired through working and making your hands dirty with the real problems is really what you need to do in order to have a successful program.
So can you tell us basically just where in the program you're teaching?
Well, there are two areas that I did this semester. One is in risk, where I focused on a little bit more esoteric types of risk, on cross-asset risk, where we look at things beyond compartmentalized risk assessment. The industry and academia and so on traditionally would like to have elegant solutions for everything, right? And What that means is taking a risk in terms of orthogonal parameters. Every asset class by itself, even geographies are used as orthogonal setups. But in reality, that's not the case. Especially that's not the case once the risk starts increasing, the correlation between asset classes increases. And you need to understand why is that happening. And so you need to understand what are the fundamental drivers to this cross-asset risk correlation. And we show that there are fundamental reasons for it. We teach our students to do that, to do this type of analysis, and give examples with some more complicated contracts like convertible bonds, where those correlations are mixed in a natural way as a part of the contract. And without understanding it and ability to analyze, you can't possibly do the risk analysis properly. And second part of the second course that I'm involved with Branko, it's in an intro to derivatives. And that is a course where I also try to give some of the insight. Branko fills you up with all these partial differential equations, probability density functions that are used to price the contracts. But then once you do that, you develop the risk parameters, and then you will have to know what to do with it. And we try to basically do examples of corporate derivatives, and also we do trading simulation. People do their trading on IB platform, which is brokerage platform, where they try to make money trading options by hedging, trading gamma, delta neutral hedging, etc. So once you combine that, you come out with the knowledge that is tangible, actually. It's not like some abstract thing. You know how to do mathematics, you know how to program that, but you also know how people in real life are using it for hedging or making money.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to ask Vladislav, so you are also in your course in investment talking about dealing with the trading competition. So how does that work? What do you do?
That works perfectly well. Together with my students, we lost almost 50,000 euros just in the last couple of weeks. But all kidding aside, what we have every year is this really interesting and really real-to-life investment game, where we try to apply everything what we learned from portfolio optimization, from different approaches and models that first we covered theoretically, and then we try to see who can be the best in applying those over the course of 1 month. Obviously, now we're living in a quite a bear market, and this is really good example because there is certain naivety to our job from spectators on the side, believing that is relatively simple to just spread your butter across the market in hopes that you're going to catch some alpha to get some profits, etc. But what we do here in this game and also in part of this course is actually also have a wake-up call for our students to understand that having knowledge of mathematics and computational finance and statistics is just one part of that. And the second part is what I also covered just in the last lecture that we're going to continue next Friday, is certain cognitive biases that are happening even to the best of us. So we will not only combine complex mathematics, but we will also try to trade in real time and see how our psychology might trick us along the way.
Okay, so I just wanted to say before we conclude, this was a pleasure to hear them talk about these things, but I wanted to say Vladislav is a Renaissance man, so he's actually an accomplished writer whose books can be bought in any bookstore, and he is also a member, if I understand correctly, of the Society of Writers of Germany. He's also has his own production company that produces movie popularizing science, and so yeah, he is something else. Okay, thank you, Vladislav. Thank you, Miško, and now we continue. Give first the word to Drago, And so to basically tell us, so Drago's course is a course that we have already for the second year. Malicious or MVP's course is going to be taught from the September session, mainly from November, I guess. So let's start with Drago. So tell us a little bit about you, and then a little bit about what you. And by the way, do you want to put that slide or?
You can, if there is.
Okay. Sorry.
There is a single slide, only one.
Okay. I just need to.
So the story goes that
Okay.
I did a PhD in 1990s. I'm not a physicist. I did electrical engineering, and thanks God, I never ever worked for an investment bank, which means that I managed to spend 20 few years in startup hedge funds, and it was very interesting, including a couple of my own. And then 2008 happened, and I've seen the light in a special way, and I've realized that all your apps on your mobile phones and a few things that Malish and his friends did are going to change perspective of finance. And the bridge between centralized finance and decentralized finance can be called fintech. There are a few important lessons. I would say that out of 30,000 banks today, there will be only several thousands left in about 10 years. So we have a situation that finance is becoming disintermediated. Everything in finance is becoming retail oriented. And we are trying to build this bridge between traditional finance, banking, derivatives, etc., and something else on your apps. And in this brave new world of blockchains. And I'm going to stop right here and pass it to Malisha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Malisha, please tell us a little bit about your company, about you, and,
I'll try.
our collaboration. And
I'll try to be brief about the company and myself. But basically, we ended up in blockchain or crypto world by accident. We were solving a problem about privacy in email world, and we were looking around with Ethereum. Can we solve it or not? And at some point, the Ethereum itself started to be interesting to us. So then we basically started to go into cryptocurrencies. So it's a different kind of route that is not that strange to the crypto world. Usually there is a large number of engineers that are coming to the crypto world, similar to like 20 or 30 years ago with people from physics coming into Wall Street. So, so this is about us and our company. Concerning the course, yeah.
there is much more about your company than what you said.
Yeah, so I will give you an example. We had two things we have been working on that are in that context more or less not famous, but I don't know the word. One is Celsius. Celsius approached us as a company which is early in crypto. It's back in 2016, and they said, we don't know much about these things. Can you help us in defining our white paper? So we were the guys who started working with them, and now Celsius is trying to go to IPO in New York. So we are not working anymore with them. They are better without us. So we did some kind of build, operate, transfer model where our employees went to their company. The second example is what we are doing now. We are working with Polygon, which is, if somebody is in Ethereum ecosystem, you have heard about about Polygon. We are working with them on establishing Supernet's ecosystem with Polygon Edge, which is our own blockchain implementation that is done from Belgrade. So those are two things, for example, that we are proud of working on.
Okay, now maybe Drago, you want to.
Yes, the slide behind me that you can see is the result of experiment that started 3 years ago, because I was challenged myself to develop a fintech elective. And very few people are trying to teach fintech in all this complexity. And
so Drago is doing it in Great Britain.
and yes, so it involved, so formally and informally, and I'm pleased to say that I'm teaching this fintech at 3 very good places in England. I'm the guy who is teaching fintech at UCL, at Warwick Business School, and at Queen Mary University, and the same thing, and 153 students at these 3 places are actually mirrored in Belgrade. I had 14 students in Belgrade last year, and looking at this puzzle that I'm trying to assemble, and this is an old slide from last year, it seems that we've managed, and thanks to Malisha, to combine this picture of fintechy things to bridge this gap between quant finance, centralized finance, traditional banking, and this brave new world that Malisha is doing. And the beauty of this approach is that fintech, as I'm teaching, is a no-code, low-code option, which means that even if you have done economics or Albanian language or something else, you're very welcome to join this MBA/MSc content. And hopefully some of these bits of this puzzle will come very clear. And I'm very happy to outsource blockchain and smart contracts component to people at MVP workshop like Malisha.
Okay, so yeah, please, Malisha. Now you tell us a little bit about your view on our cooperation so far, and also about this coming course.
Concerning the cooperation, we are glad that we can cooperate. I'm joking. So yes, we are really glad that this course exists, because for a couple of reasons, I will name just a few. One is once we touched the fintech world as engineers, we were obviously not knowledgeable in that area, and that thing still exists. So these kinds of courses can help companies like ours to scale the number of engineers or other people who are familiar with fintech domains. So that's the reason why we supported the program. And the second reason is we think that this voice, the first one is obviously a selfish reason, and the second one is more altruistic reason, and that is we think the voices of crypto community must be heard on universities, not just, for example, commercial banks, but these alternative systems are obviously now really developed and can say something that is not dumb. So from our side, this is how we view things. So we support these kind of programs.
So maybe just very briefly, if you can tell what people who come, because there are some of the people.
Yeah. So we were thinking about what is the best people, what is the like first thing they can learn about crypto or politically correct Web3, and it's basically DeFi, decentralized finance, in the broadest sense, but with a touch of implementation. So the first thing they will learn how to implement is on top of Ethereum as a virtual machine, Solidity, with the implementation of 2 different kinds of tokens. One is fungible and other one is non-fungible, or in other terms, something called ERC20 and ERC721. And if we have enough time, once we have our own tokens, which are self-sovereign, we will develop automated market maker on top of smart contract. And yeah, this is how we see the thing. We will do what we do best, implementation itself.
Okay, great. Anything else you wanted to add? Or?
Just the closing sentence, because this is all about money. This master type of program is something that any institution that I'm teaching is going to happily charge you around £40,000, which is a lot of money. And this is a simple fee. On top of that, you have to live in London or nearby, which makes MSc financials very appealing. MCF. Very appealing. So please keep that in mind. because this is the best place and probably the most affordable place where you can get Malish and Drago, if you like, in the same package, thanks to Branko. And hopefully we'll have some foreign students if everything goes well.
Well, we actually had already some foreign students.
Maybe I can say
yes,
about
please.
the stipends. So basically, we are willing to stipend 1 or 2 human beings, people.
I was waiting for you to say something.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are willing to do that this year also. And our main focus, or let's call it user persona, is somebody who is from the programming world, willing to go into DeFi and the blockchain itself. So you can basically contact Branko and he will contact.
Hopefully you will consider also.
Yeah, we will obviously consider. Alexander is an example for somebody from an economic background, and now he is working as a researcher, basically spiking things like solidity and stuff like that.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. So now we have Vladimir. You can be hiding there. Now I need you to come over here. Wonder if our colleague from New York has woken up, because it's very early in the morning. So let's see. Petar, are you around?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Oh, great. So let me stop sharing. And Petar is here. Well, first, how could I doubt? First of all, can you come closer? Because
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So I can give you this. So Petar, first of all, welcome. So are you able to focus to say something?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm definitely able to speak.
I'm impressed. Okay, great.
Well,
So
I wake up very early daily, so.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So maybe why don't you please tell us something about the role of the advisory board, because these two gentlemen, they are both on the advisory board, and so maybe you should tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll have Vlada to tell us something about his personal take on our subject and everything. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Well, and thank you for the invitation. I've been listening to the last half an hour, and it sounds amazing as to what are the things that are being taught. Look, I mean, I'll just be very, very direct about like my involvement and the involvement of the advisory board. From my perspective, I think that, you know, like anybody who is interested in this area and has any connection to Serbia or to Professor Rošević, who basically organized the entire masters, is willing to contribute something. And it's actually impressive to see what type of areas are we able to collect into one program. The advisory board serves as a mechanism to select and direct which areas are actually feasible on one hand, and on the other hand, what are the topics that are currently very, very, if you can call it popular or crucial or up and coming and escalating in terms of both finance and computing. The advisory board has, you know, people with tremendous amount of experience, and you've
Maybe you can tell us about yourself a little bit.
Okay, sure. So my experience was similar to most of the people who spoke on the panel. I have electrical engineering or engineering background in computer science from ETF in Belgrade, and then I did master's in quantitative finance and economics in Belgrade with Professor Rošević. After that, I worked for 10 years at Goldman Sachs in London and India, and last 8 years in New York. At first, I was focusing on market risk, and after that, I switched into working in investment banking and corporate derivatives, similar to some of what the previous colleagues were also focused on. And recently, half a year ago, I switched into Deutsche Bank to focus on corporate derivatives again, but just on interest rates. So it's been very fun and interesting. I heard Dragović say, thank God he never worked for an investment bank. I worked for 2 investment banks during my career, but it was, I mean, to me, it was super interesting and fun. And I think you get a really good sense of what's going on in the world in terms of allocation of resources. And I think it's very important that we convey this message in this master's in terms of that the program teaches not only theory, but also very practical knowledge. So to me, that's I think one of the big value adds that's not common even on international courses, not just in Serbia.
Yeah, I wanted to say for me, having a board like this is so great, because usually I was used to do everything on my own. And the board actually helped me a lot because, first of all, Petar did a lot of work, legwork to put together people. I also got in touch separately with Vlada. And so overall, we have really people who have tremendous amount of practical experience, a lot of wisdom, and they were advising us. They were going course through course and saying, okay, this makes sense, this other thing maybe is missing, until we get to the shape of those curricula that are really what is now up to the snuff. Is that your impression?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, would you also think that? Yeah, okay. So maybe now we can, okay, let me move, give you this place. So can you please tell us about yourself and a little bit about your perception, something that this audience and the audience online can get away from you that is important, maybe not mentioned.
Thank you, Branko, and thanks to everybody who's been a part of this event. It's actually quite a privilege to be a part of it. So thanks for organizing, and thanks for bringing all these people together, and our former and future students as well. My name is Vladimir Aleksic. From the formal education point of view, I trained as like theoretical mathematician turned later computer scientist. I did a PhD in a very theoretical discipline, but then moved after that quite quickly into the world of financial markets. My career since the early days, after a very short excursion into IT, was in a large investment bank. I worked on the buy side, investing the money on behalf of the bank, and also then moved into the what people call the investment bank part of it, where I have been working in the mostly fixed income part of the trading floor, designing and trading quantitative investment strategies and advising clients on how to do that, selling them, et cetera. That's it. From that point of view, I wanted to emphasize first the ingredients that you offered in this module. So Branko mentioned 4 ingredients. I can witness that all those 4 ingredients, from the understanding of theoretical underpinning, mathematical theoretical underpinning of the financial markets, moving on to financial instruments, understanding all this theory that's been developed over the last few decades, to finally computational side of the whole thing that puts things together, and then most recently data management and machine learning. It's all really important, and you cannot emphasize how all these aspects are something that gives you a full picture, and the fact that knowing each of these, but also as a synergy, is an edge that everybody would have. Other panelists have also emphasized the importance of things that somebody would put on the soft side of the equation, and that is psychology, that is knowing how to deal with people. Lots of times it's emphasized that financial markets and working in the financial industry is a relationship business. And that is also something that should not be forgotten. So complementing that soft side with what's offered in this course is a very powerful supersonic mix that can propel somebody, their career, you know, to some nice places.
Yeah, and of course you are working in JP Morgan, right, for many years. So almost nobody mentions where they work, but it's not a bad thing to do. Peter, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
I just want to add, especially for the future students or current students, that the amount of intellectual power and like brain power that's already invested and available to them, and the amount of topics, interesting topics that they can address and learn about in this course is so broad that, you know, like as I'm listening, I'm thinking, okay, I would like to sit down and go through the course myself and learn more.
You are more than welcome.
I wish I had the free time. However, but seriously, on a very serious note, I really feel that, you know, like there's so many aspects of both computation and finance that people can learn about, that it sounds to me like anybody with technical capabilities, it's a no-brainer for them that they should be interested in this course. So with that, I think, you know, like we're doing the right work, and especially obviously you in terms of organizing. So that's my kind of like final take on it.
Anything?
I think I would like to add this. Actually, it's very true that throughout the years of being aware of this program in its various shapes and previous iterations, I've met a number of people abroad or here that you know, were developed into par excellence, into top-notch professionals who always had just one thing to say, is that there is this program that offered them and gave them, and they took it, the knowledge and the skill set that they could take with them and become very admirable as professionals. So I keep meeting from 15 years back until today. I keep meeting, like Peter is one of the people of you know, that, you know, most recently I met, and they just seem to be getting out of the woodwork. Everywhere you turn, there is somebody with a very good endorsement. So I'm aware that I'm joining a choir here, that you've heard that so many times, but this is definitely something that should not be underestimated and should not be mentioned. So that's that.
Now we have a larger group of people, and I would say I was very impressed with the whole group. So scaling was good because we got a good quality with scale.
On another note, you know, we saw these other members of the panel. I mentioned, you know, what the content of their courses are and the content of their modules are, and the fact that this program is offering things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, crypto, digital finance of different sorts is again, it just shows a metamorphosis and ability to think forward, the ability to not be afraid and accept the latest trends and include them into the curriculum so that it keeps being relevant. And that is something that is very admirable.
Oh, thank you. We try. Okay, so now I would like to thank you very much for both of you. Now I'd like to ask Sofia and Milan to come and to give from the participants' perspective, which will be followed by Nicola. I would like to ask first Sofia, because ladies are always coming first. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, what is your background and what is your perception about, in a couple of minutes, just to kind of, and what you wanted to say about it.
Okay, first I want to say that I'm glad that I was given this opportunity because I want to emphasize some advantages of it because I am a big fan of it and very content with it. I finished international program of London School of Economics. I studied economics and finance, so there was a lot of math and statistics, econometrics and everything. But even though I like formulas and doing math and all of that, I needed a touch with real life. So I always had dilemma between studying economics and studying programming. So this came out as a perfect match for me. And so that's about my background. But I mean, okay, I have a lot of knowledge of economics and everything, but I think that bootcamp here was very useful to acquire knowledge about programming. And some advantages I would like to, from my experience, emphasize rather than the obvious one, which is practical aspects of this program, is the environment, because I think it is really important to be surrounded by right people. And I think that professors here are showing outstanding devotion and everything, and that gives you motivation to be devoted yourself. So yeah, it's not easy. It requires a lot of work and doing a lot of homeworks, but I mean, it teaches you discipline and everything. And I think that it's a great thing that we're working in groups because myself, I mean, personally, I was not used to it and I can be very stubborn and I'm used to doing things by myself. So I think I have great opportunity here to learn how to work in teams. And I think that it's a great thing that groups are made in a way to combine people with different knowledge and from different backgrounds. So we also learn how to give out our knowledge, and that's about it.
Okay, and I wanted to say that Sofia is the stipendist of Raiffeisen Bank. Yes, thank you, Raiffeisen. Okay, so Milan, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your take? Because you come from a slightly different background.
Yeah, actually, regarding my background, actually, I'm coming from computer science. 3 years ago, I actually joined the Malisha MVP building from the scratch company that now manages more assets than an average bank in Serbia. And what I realized actually, when you come from the computer science, during your bachelor degree, actually, you learn only how computer works. But in order to get a step further, you need to get domain knowledge. So domain knowledge is actually in the fintech finance. So so far, and we are not yet to the half of this program. It helped me gather knowledge, and now I'm leading actually a team that is trading, building a platform for trading cryptocurrencies. And so in parallel, when we listen to the Miodrag, to the Branko and Radak, actually we could use that knowledge and immediately put it into the action. So that's about the background and what I learned also, and what Sofia said. Actually, the most astonished thing on this master that I realized is actually that I gathered the same level of knowledge from the people in a group and in the master, from different background as I gather from the professor. And that's something really, really important. And also a network that we created here with the participants from this year is definitely going to stay. And that network and mobile phones from the people that we met here is going to be of the same value as the whole knowledge that we could gather here. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I would like to now ask Nicola and Angelina to come and to give their perspective. So both Nicola and Angelina are economists. And Angelina, maybe tell us a little bit first about yourself. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angelina Cholovic, and it is my great pleasure to be here today with you. I'm currently working at Delta Holding and started my career there through the talent program named the Young Leaders. Maybe one of them have heard this yet. What is important here that we are supported by our management a lot and have a lot of talent programs. And our greatest rule is to keep up with trends and also to being able to learn from those who are the best in what they do. And this is why it is not surprising that our management has decided to choose RAF and this master program for us and for our additional and also advanced learning. I will have to say that I graduated from Faculty of Economics, and me, as together with my 3 other colleagues from Delta Holding, we actually had zero knowledge from the field in programming, and really, honestly, we thought it will be very difficult for us to start learning this, but I actually now have to say that it is really not a great problem because professors who are teaching us are great, and their support and motivation and encouragement that we received from them is very crucial for us. Also, I would like to say that what is really important to me is that I'm now very sure that in December this year, we will have and will be on much higher level or our knowledge that we were last year. And most important here is all these incredible participants that we have this, how can I say, we have the opportunity to learn with them and to cooperate with them is also a great experience and even make this journey much more complete.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Angelina. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Professor. Thanks, Angelina. I am Nikola Pandic. I'm graduated from Faculty Economics in Niš, and I'm also UniCredit scholarship holder. The one little thing I want to mention is I passed CFA level 1 exam last year, and one of the questions from last year festival in computational finance was how much this program covered CFA curriculum. And from my experience, I can tell you that is the pretty much, except from financial reporting analysis, that is the one of the little part of traditional finance. But yes, yes, this is the new news for me. But with this program and CFA curriculum complete. And achieve a comprehensive knowledge in finance, and together is the complete program in finance. And the one more thing I would say is how much Professor Branco is dedicated to this program. This is anecdote from lecture. When we studied the stochastic calculus, especially Ito Lyman, on the break, my colleague Miroslav and me, together with Professor Branco, wrote some formula for geometric Brownian motion, and we realized that the Professor Branco had 17 alternative lectures for this particular lecture. And this is the blow mind for me, because you can think about that this is the really hard topic and heavy on mathematics, and Professor wrote 17 alternatives for this lecture, version for this lecture. Yes, and the last thing, the most valuable currency on the world is trust. And at first, this program seems to be difficult to you, but only thing you need to believe in the Professor Branco and his process, and everything's gonna be all right. This for me.
Okay, I need to interrupt you because this program could not possibly function if it were just me. I mean, everybody is doing tremendous stuff, putting an effort. You know, I do care a lot about it, but you know, everybody's making an important contribution.
Thank you, and thank to all my colleagues.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we are open for questions. So do you have any questions? Yes.
Well, first I want to say thank you and thank you all the panelists because it was, I mean, this was music to my ear. You know, I'm working in BlackRock with the largest asset manager in the world, and we have an office just nearby. So yeah, this is a really perfect program for some firm like BlackRock. My question is around. So we see more and more kind of machine learning starting to kind of maybe replace or compensate, you know, some of the, let's say, more theoretical model in math and statistics. Like how much of the machine learning program versus math you are addressing for the program?
Well, basically, you need to know both. So I would say without understanding the key ideas and the key theories behind it, the machine learning by itself is not going to do a job that you will be very confident about that it is solving the right problems, because it's kind of trying to do an optimization and having no idea whether you have an optimum or a minimum or a maximum, and then you do something with the numbers and you have no idea whether you got the right thing. So I think it's important to understand the basic stuff, and it's important to know the context, how the markets work, how, you know, how all this is implemented, because then you can select when it is reasonable to use machine learning and when it is reasonable to use maybe just simple regressions. Generally, I think that it is best to always use the simplest possible technique that will get the job done and be predictive enough. And if that simplest possible technique happens to be some complicated neural network, then so be it. But not to use it as a substitution for everything else. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So any other questions? Yes.
Well, we would like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to learn about this program. I already have the pleasure to speak with Miodrag about this program, and as someone who's coming from math and programming world, I would like to address Drago and Vladimir. How hard was it for you to learn some basics in economics and then advance that?
Yeah. Okay, let's have them come here, because so the question was for Drago and Vladimir, how hard it was to learn this, to get into the finance. Okay.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has a kind of like an input like an insertion point in this industry, and you know that is typically playing to your strength, so playing to like what you can offer, and then you from that point then you start to understand what's happening around, what are you lacking, and then you start developing that by sheer interest. So that could be maybe more in-depth knowledge of financial markets and financial instruments. Then it could be maybe more economics, so understanding you know, main principles about how, I don't know, the monetary policy works, how that affects the prices of assets around the world. That could be perhaps some more micro models of how to value a company, and how to decide, you know, whether it's currently trading at a cheap or an expensive price. So doing this is, not having an understanding of economics or not having a knowledge of economics. It is, it may sound like a big lacking of that matter. Whereas in fact, it is something that permeates into your head as you keep showing up at work, and obviously you do make sense of it in your own way, and you do understand the principles of what you need to understand. So that's that. I don't think that you know, there is something too smart to say about it, but like with anything, right? You can't have the point being is that you cannot have formal education in everything. Drago would maybe like to add.
This is not, it's tough when you're put on the spot. Yeah, it's tough. When I've realized that some topics that we are covering call for background or understanding of economics. And I'll give you a brilliant example. Central bank digital currencies is something that is going to hit everyone on the planet. And when you realize that identity, digital identity, and behavioral risk profiling, what people are, how they react, is combined with some game theory, you realize that you need more of thinking coming from economics than engineering. And I really enjoy talking to people with different backgrounds. One of our former students, Tijana Jachmenica, is a brilliant example of an economist who made it into quantitative finance to the very end in California these days. But I would respect diversity at this program. And I would love to create groups that would have a couple of economists and a couple of engineers. And I'll always give them a great example where this community, if you like, pinch them or push them when it hurts a lot, and something like risk profile or identity or any form of equilibrium or valuation of Belgrade on water is a great topic.
I wanted to say, since you mentioned central bank digital currency, that the guy who teaches probability, Martin Zumer, he's actually an expert on central bank digital currencies. He is in charge on behalf of Austria in the working group of the creation of digital euro in the European Central Bank. So, you know, if there is an interest to learn more about that, well, he is somebody who studies that intensively. So.
I'm just going to add one particular model of central bank currency, because in Belgrade, we can enjoy criticizing models proposed by China, European Union, US, and a few other places.
He's studying different experiences and proposals. Anyway, yeah, so any other questions?
I'm not sure if you can hear me. Hi.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Julia.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So I have a question regarding online studying, basically. So I saw that courses are taught by Zoom and in person in the class.
Yes.
So I'm not sure would it be obstacle for me if I want to participate completely online. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
No,
so
no.
that was, yeah.
The answer is no. And in fact, there is other people who participate completely online. We have a person who is, for example, in Amsterdam and participates very actively. So, you know, no problem.
Yeah, thanks. Perfect.
Yes.
I mean, if I decide to enroll and if I manage to enroll, maybe sometimes I will be able to come to Serbia, but yeah, I would prefer online.
Well, this is completely up to you. So it would be nice to meet you and for you to meet other people.
Yeah.
That's for sure. There is always a benefit. But if you are currently abroad and you have other obligations, you can do the whole program basically doing it online.
Okay.
And you will not be the only one. There is a girl from Novi Sad who also plans to do it all online.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
thanks.
no problem. Yes. Any other questions? I wanted to say hi to Thomas Sobotka, our partner from Ernst & Young in Prague. So he is soon going to be teaching you guys. He's a wonderful guy, very, very smart. So he's going to finish you off, you know, whatever little, you know, he actually created a really good lecture for you to learn stuff in a not too technical way, something that is quite technical. So only the true masters can do that. So it's very fortunate that he wants to teach us. Great. So, okay, I see here also some other colleagues from Switzerland, Luka Kern, Luka Jurovic. Hello, Lucas. And Dominic, Dimitar, everybody. Okay, thanks a lot. Any other questions? No comments? Okay, if not, then there is actually opportunity to do some more talking in that cafe, have some coffee, and that's it. I wanted to thank everybody for showing up on a Saturday afternoon. I think it was really, for me, a very rewarding experience to have everybody in such a big number and such excellent quality participants in every possible way. I hope we didn't disappoint. We did our best. We are here to basically, I wanted to thank also all the students of the previous and the generation, because in a way they're all making this possible. And of course, all the corporate partners of ours that are growing, but every one of them is very special to us. Okay, thanks, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.